because we are not angels, the government, in his words, must be obliged to control itself. That's what checks and balances mean. That's what oversight means. Now, the other thing that's unique about the current administration is that for the first time in American history, the administration takes the position, first voiced by the Vice President when he was a congressman 20 years ago and he dissented from the Iran-Contra report. The administration takes the position that, like the British monarchs in the 17th century, the President has the right to break the law. If he believes that the law gets in the way of what he thinks are national security objectives, he can break the law, and he can do so secretly. Now, that is an enormously dangerous loaded gun, to pick up on that possession, that lies, unless it is squashed, that lies for future presidents to take advantage of, future presidents of either party. This is totally unique. Richard Nixon, only when he left office did he tell first the Church Committee in a rather obscure affidavit, and then David Frost in that famous television interview, that, in his words, when the President does it, that means it's not illegal. But we're now in a position where the OLC's position still is that the President can break the law if he thinks there's a need to do it, and can do so secretly. And that's something that every American from either party should say is a dangerous doctrine that needs to be squashed, disagreed with, exposed, and never accepted by anybody in this government or by the American people. I've covered details of what has gone wrong elsewhere in my written testimony and in my book, Unchecked and Unbalanced. I'd just like to summarize what I think is the largest problem, which is that in our efforts to protect ourselves, we've made the mistake of adopting tactics of the enemy. The most important mistake has been with respect to torture. And waterboarding, by the way, we prosecuted Japanese soldiers for using it against Americans. And we have abandoned the rule of law and slipped away from checks and balances, and those all have created a serious constitutional problem. The Vice President 20 years ago said we should have monarchical powers for the presidency, and I believe that's his view today. The consequence of what we have done is that America has been made not only less free, but also less safe. And just to illustrate that with some examples, by abandoning our values and choosing instead to adopt some tactics of our vicious enemies, we've given enemy recruiters powerful tools to stir up passions in the Muslim world. Those tactics have also undermined necessary cooperation from our closest allies. Colin Powell said in a letter to John McCain just 2 years ago, quotes, "The world is beginning to doubt the moral basis of our fight against terrorism," and that's a terrible loss. After the rush of support and emotional bonding with America immediately after 9/11, we are met with disappointment, caution, and resistance from even our closest allies. For example, the British now refuse to cooperate with us on lots of intelligence matters because they fear there will be use in rendition. Now, the full story needs to be told, and the full story of the consequences of what has been done needs to be told. We need to know from an investigation the full truth, so we do not repeat mistakes. We need to know the full truth to produce accountability for those that have committed wrongdoing. And we need to know the full truth because to produce the truth begins to restore America's moral luster, which is a great part of our strength. Now, you could say that putting out the full truth will embarrass the country. That's been said before. It might embarrass people. But the great strength of America is to remain a people who confront our mistakes and resolve not to repeat them. If we do not do that,